Good evening, dear friends, and also ni hao to our Chinese partners. Friends, I now ask only those who are interested in prolonging their lives to stay at the screens, and I ask the rest to turn off their YouTube receivers. Because today, on our screens, on the next page of our on YouTube Almanac, we will find out with you how to prolong our life. Not everyone has a life they would like to prolong, so I warn you in advance. After this exercise, with daily execution, one day you do this exercise, you add 5 years to your life, you draw, then you will cross out. So, what happens to our body? Why does it age? And even there are a few side effects to this exercise too. Unfortunately, they exist. Firstly, the belly vanishes. If you've been deliberately trying to grow a belly for many years, it's important to someone because you'll have to change your wardrobe, pants that you've gotten used to that feel like your own. You'll have to either give them to your plump friend or just hang them up. If you're used to suspenders, you'll switch back to a belt again. These are all expenses. Be ready for this. And also, if even you are, for example, 70 years old, if you're already such a 70-year-old guy or a 70-year-old girl, woman, then you'll start moving as if you're 30. That's it. From 25 to 40 years approximately. That is, your movements will change. And for example, there can also be some not-so-pleasant situations. Someone might mistake you for a younger guy when you're walking down the street, and this might confuse you. For example, your movements will change and become like those of a young guy. That is, if you've noticed, for example, when you're walking down the street, you don't even see the person's face. In winter with a hat, in a fur coat, he walks with his back. You roughly understand who he is, how old he is, where he lives. You don't know his name, but roughly by his movements you already understand. Has he reached retirement age, or is he still working, waiting for when he will retire? So, friends, none of us likes to talk a lot. We immediately love to get down to business, to exercises. So the essence of the matter is such. There are certain muscles in our body that, according to Dr. Alekseev's classification, are attributed to the muscles of youth or to the muscles of old age, depending on their condition. Since our everyday life is connected with you in such a way that we spend a lot of time with you in a sitting position, in this position a certain tone of muscles develops. Muscles get used to maintaining this position for our convenience. Our muscles have a certain tone. They start to support the muscles. It's such a thing that it strives to spend as little energy as possible. For example, if I take my hand and bend it like this, the muscle is tense at this moment, biceps. And if I keep my hand like this for a week, structural changes will start to occur in the muscle itself. Now I will start holding my hand for you, my dear subscribers, for a week, and we will see what happens to me after a week. No, I won't do that. I'm just theoretically explaining all this to you. Changes will occur in the muscles. A certain muscle tissue will be replaced by connective tissue, which consumes less energy. What is connective tissue? It is a tissue that is not made up of muscle fibers that need to contract and relax. A lot of energy is required for muscle contractions. It's something similar to dried fruit, to fascia, to ties. That is, it's a denser kind of fabric that doesn't require stretching. It doesn't require tension, stretching, length changes from it. If your muscles are constantly in a certain position, such structural changes begin to appear in it, in the form of connective tissue, so-called fibrosis, and the muscle itself, before the appearance of fibrosis, also adapts to this position. It changes its length and does not allow itself to stretch. Here is what we see with you. Here is the lumbar sacral muscle, which originates from the lumbar vertebrae. Here it is. Look, lovingly presented to you on our assistant. It goes from the transverse processes of the lumbar vertebrae, from the bodies of the vertebrae, even attaches to the intervertebral discs and all the way to the sacrum. Here it attaches to the sacral bone. It participates in movement, in the extension and flexion of the leg forward, in practically all leg movements. In bends, in flexion, it is involved everywhere. It bends to the side. Just when you stand, it also holds everything on it. In this case, it is always in a contracted state. That is, if the leg is in this state, here in such a state, then the muscle, it shortens. You see what happens? It shortens. The length of the muscle is very long. When it stops changing, it gets used to this position. In other words, what I just said is that the muscle gets used to a certain position, and in order not to waste energy, it maintains this position in the form of constant tension at first. And then this is replaced by a structural change in the muscle in the form of fibrosis. And secondly, this is a four-headed muscle, namely the straight muscle of the thigh, also becomes short here. And at the same time, because we sit with you on the gluteal muscle and we sit on the muscles of the back surface of the thigh, this is the biceps of the thigh, semitendon, semimembranous. So-called sitting muscles not sitting, they are not called that. Well, just that. On what we sit, they are constantly compressed. There is a disruption of blood flow in the first place. Because if you press on the muscle like this, if you press very hard, and the flow is disrupted if not a strong lymphatic venous, and so-called scientists have even developed a term, special scientists studying gluteal muscles. They came to the conclusion that there arises so-called amnesia of gluteal muscles. That is, the gluteal muscles just forget for what they were created. They start to think that they were created only to sit on them. But it is also needed to strain, so that we could use this muscle and strain during walking. So, friends, if such a person who sat for at least 5 hours in a row gets up, starts to walk towards the store in search of food, to snack in the evening, instead of his gluteal muscles, right here, instead of the muscles of the back surface of the thigh, which have lost memory, which have forgotten what they were created for, his hip flexor muscles start to move him. Here are the overloaded lumbar muscles. And what happens in front? The sublumbar muscle, which has been shortened for a long time, also does not allow itself to stretch. And at the moment when our leg goes back, here this muscle should stretch, and then successfully bring the leg forward at the next step. Here it does not allow itself to stretch, and therefore during the walk, along with the pelvis, it pulls the pelvis here. According to Chinese traditional medical specialists, aging begins with the legs. If we open any guide to traditional Chinese medicine, on any page we will see that it is written there that aging begins with the legs for the Chinese. They believe so. But we also agree with them to some extent. Because these changes, they lead to something good, don't you think? They don't lead to anything good at all, so how to fight this? Not sitting. It's impossible. Everyone still wants to sit, no matter how much they restrain themselves. Sooner or later, we will sit down. But we need to keep these muscles in a certain tone so that even if we sit down, we still maintain our vigor, youth, and optimism. So, friends, what should we do? You need to do it like this. Look. Move your leg to the side so it doesn't interfere with the exercise. Create a reverse effect. Now we need to stretch the front surface of the thigh. We need to stretch the lumbar muscle. There are several levels of this exercise. The first level is when you approach the wall, the back leg, The one behind you, put it on your toes, and with your palms, these two bones at once, you try to reach the wall. This is the first level, the beginner one. This is for everyone who has been sitting for a very long time. Get moving. You will start to feel a stretch here. The second level is that you make a larger distance between your legs. Put your foot here. Here during this exercise is the most important part. To strain the gluteal muscle. At the moment when you make a forward movement with your pelvis, that's where you need to strain the buttock. You can even strain both. This is done so that the lower back does not strain. So that the lumbar sacral muscle stretches at this moment, it is necessary so that the buttock strains. If your gluteal muscle does not strain during this movement, then the tension of the lumbar sacral muscle will be maintained. And then this exercise will not work out. Instead of feeling the stretch in the lumbar sacral muscle, you will feel tension in the back muscles. We don't need this, do we? But most importantly, this can be called preparation. That is, it's just so that you can teach your gluteus muscle to feel and strain again. Most importantly, now we will move on to the main thing. That is, the exercise that will simultaneously restore mobility, restore movement in the sacroiliac joint, and return a young, beautiful, healthy step. The gluteus muscle also needs to be slightly toned before this. First, we will do it like this. That is, first as the first stage you did 10 times on one side. One leg forward while your glutes are straining. Hold on to the wall. Do it 10 times, then the other side. Then, the distance between your legs is larger, already with a bent leg. Also strain the gluteus here. Here you strain at the extreme point. Here. Strain here. You can relax here. And after this, separately, you can also strain the glutes just to tone them, to remove excess tension and in the front surface of the thigh and in the diaphragm muscle. You are in a tilt. Just hold on with your hands. Lift your leg. First with one side 10 times just back. Then at 45 degrees from one side, from the other side, also approaches 2 by 10 times. This is all a warm-up before the main exercise. This is to bring our back muscles into tone, a little bit of the front muscles, and the main exercise, which will allow you to remove the belly, restore the correct position of the pelvis, increase the mobility of the sacroiliac joint, and not be afraid to sit as much as you like. Look at it for him. I use a cushion. You can use something similar there, a sofa, or something else. Throw your knife here, back here, here, so here, and here. Someone can already feel the stretch in the area of the front surface of the thigh, in the area of the sacroiliac. Joints forward. If you feel, just stand like this. This is this feeling of stretching. Wait until it decreases from one side. Do this, then change the knife, and from the other side. For this exercise, you may need a special training trick too. Don't forget to walk before the exercise. Reach from the shelf like this from the other side. The muscle relaxed. Stopped feeling. If the muscle tension, you can already make a little movement. A little back, a little forward. A little more, a little less tension in the muscle, so it would be more comfortable for you to see. So, we made a little forward movement, a little back, more tension, less tension. What can be done after this? The distance can be changed. You can make the distance greater. It's also very important here that your glute is tense at the moment of exercise execution. This gives you the opportunity to better relax the muscles of the front surface of the thigh and then return to the necessary distance, the original one. And here is the complication of this exercise, in that you try to reach your toes with your hand, right here. Turned and back again, turned once more, back again. To one toe, it will not be difficult to reach. But to the opposite hand, it may be problematic to do this. You turned, reached, back again, turned, reached, back again. From one side and from the other side, this is the movement you do. The same thing, here you are reaching. You reached. Balance, possibly, will be hard to maintain at first. But over time, through training, through your persistence, you will be able to learn to do this movement. So, friends, after this, try to walk, and you will be surprised to find that your step is longer compared to the step you are used to. Long years as if you are 18 again. You will want to run somewhere again. Do something, but more accurately. First, do this exercise one more time. Don't put too much pressure on it right away. After this, the length of the breath hold will increase. The muscles on the front surface of the thigh will also relax. Well, you can fix this. Of course, later on, working the muscles with the help of massagers. Here you see the special massage industry provides us with. Great trainers, massagers with the help of which we can flex our muscles even more. With a massager like this, you can work the front surface of the thigh, even between the muscles, even between the rectus muscles, the broad muscle of the thigh. Here, work the fascia of the broad thigh, inside, right here on one leg, and on the other. All these muscles on the leg. You can do it this way to work out accurately. Well, friends, aren't you tired? And if you're not tired, then let's continue. No, I'm joking. Of course, don't be scared. Take the spoon again, continue eating. Of course, if you're just watching, it also has an effect. This is what's called autogenic training. That is, if you watch a person who is exercising, it's pleasant to watch. When someone is doing something, it's also a certain pleasure. But try it yourself too, slowly, carefully. Well, friends, write in the comments what you, how you, where in you, why. And of course, we write likes. Put a couple as usual. We engage in sports. We help parents. Until new broadcasts.